Шановні колеги, ми продовжуємо робочий день.
Colleagues, we are going to continue our work in UCMC. Next topic is the trials on Shapovalov, Lukash and Schegolev, peculiarities and stages of judicial examination. We have the lawyer of the Heavenly Hundred, member of the Advocacy Advisory Panel, Ms. Olena Storozhuk and her colleagues. Good afternoon. I'd like to inform the society and our citizens that already at last they actually submitted the cases of the materials on the charge in Shapovalov, Lukash and Alexander Schegolev, who actually were the leaders and were involved directly in different mass when they tried to oust the Maidan members from Maidan, and because of their actions many people were killed or wounded. Those cases are really symbolic because this is the first time when those cases were launched with the court. And again, much depends whether they are going to be brought to responsibility. Today, Vladislav Lukash, in the day when he committed a crime, he was a commander of the militia of special force of militia, Berkut, in the Kharkov region. He is charged with abuse of his office, abuse of his authority, and the intentional crime when they tried to disperse the protestants in December 2013 and February 2014. This kind of by the decision of a Court of Appeal of the City of Kiev was submitted to consideration of the Snyansky District Court, headed by the Judge Dekhtyar. Next judicial hearing is scheduled to take place on May 25. In this accusation, in this indictment, actually, it's mentioned that under the command of Vladislav Lukash, they actually dispersed the people who took part in the meeting of the Maidan. They abused their powers. They used the weapons and small arms. On February 18th, 2014, starting with 1700, and also on December the 1st, 2013. Actually, they inflicted damage to those who protested at the Maidan and just ordinary citizens. All in all, we are talking about more than 100. Also suffered from the action of 14 law enforcement officers, and they inflicted different bodily harm of different severity. Speaking, we are talking about the peaceful protestants. 25 of the participants of these actions of protests and 19 representatives of the mass media suffered, and they suffered from different damage to their bodily damage. I mean, of different seriousness. And today, this case is a pre-trial stage, and there is now the break in the consideration. They summoned those who suffered of those actions, who can actually give their testimonies. Which will allow to demand compensation for material and bodily harm inflicted. Mr. Lukash actually sent an appeal against this the petition, which he says that this indictment runs counter to the provisions of the Procedural and Criminal Code of Ukraine, and he claims that there were some kind of violations of the Criminal Procedural Code. Also, they sent a petition in order to close this case. criminal case, criminal proceedings can be closed. He said that they came up, the lawyers of the Lukash, and they give the following grounds to the fact that May 13 there was partial decriminalization of those crimes which are provided or fixed in a certain article. But according to the law of Ukraine, regarding the amendments to be introduced in some of the criminal provisions, speaking about the actions associated with the liberalization of the European Union visa regime for Ukraine, those persons subject to be for lifting their responsibility, speaking about the different amount of the monetary compensation. So the lawyers of Mr. Lukash claim that the material harm was not incurred or done, and according to this law, so there is the judicial practice related to the administrative crimes based on the item one of the item of Article 244. The court can close the case if there is no grounds according to these specific provisions. As far as I remember, similar petition was also lodged by the lawyers of Mr. Schegolev. All of us, we do realize that indeed the crimes were committed. For a long time we tried to collect the proofs and evidence and to send them to the pre-trial investigation bodies, also to try to bring to responsibility those persons who are guilty of killing or doing very serious damage to the health of those who suffered. But it's very difficult to do because in case of Schegolev, they returned. The court returned to the prosecutor's office this case. We do not know what about Lukash. We are going to have another court hearing, and they are going to hear all the witnesses, and they are going to pass their decision or ruling. It's very important when those court hearings are open. It's very important that people come, citizens come to those hearings. The judges will see the interest on the part of our ordinary citizens. Then we will have more chances that those guilty of those crimes will be brought to responsibility. Speaking about the dispersion, or let's say of those people who participate in those meetings, there are just a few. That's why we try to follow those procedures, and we would like to call upon everybody to come to the court rooms in order to take part in the hearings of those cases. My colleagues will take the floor. My name is, I'm a lawyer, Yulia Popik. I would like to add a few words to what has been said by my colleague regarding the charging of Viktor Valeryevich Shapovalov. Since 2012, he was commander of operational company of Special Forces of Militia Berkut, who reported directly to Mr. Lukash. He is charged with the illegal prevention of gatherings, meetings, and let's say, and different other demonstrations, and using some physical violation acts under specific articles under the Criminal Code of Ukraine. For example, 340 article of the Criminal Code of Ukraine. Also, they abused the office and the authorities. We are talking about intentional carrying out the acts in order to fulfill the criminal orders, which was accompanied by a violation, was very painful, physically painful or morally detrimental actions, which are counter to the public interest and citizens' interests. Illegal application of weapons, meaning bearing guns and the ammunition. So this is covers by one of the article Criminal Code of Ukraine. I also would like to add that the above-mentioned actions carried out by Shapovalov. We are talking an episode of the February 12, 2014, approximately, which took place between 12 and 1800. So the employees of the Berkut forces in Kharkov region, in particular commander of the operation company number 2 of the Berkut of Ukraine in Kharkov region, Mr. Shapovalov, and other divisions of Berkut, they actually forcibly dispersed the meetings of the people in Krepostny Alley and other streets in Kiev, using the illegal force and weapons, cartridges, carrying cartridges, etc. So that brought about very very serious consequences. Many people, between let's say 13 were heavily wounded. More than 30 were lightly wounded. Plus a number of other people who suffered different levels of bodily harm. Today, the case, Shapovalov case, was lodged with the Podil District Court of the city of Kiev. Shapovalov, in his testimonies, unfortunately, as of today, he testifies regarding the general events which took place and he participated in himself. As for specifically about himself or other Berkut employees or some other persons who also took part in the dispersal of those people who participated in the meeting, Shapovalov refers to 63rd article of the Criminal Code of Ukraine. Unfortunately. So perhaps later on, when we are going to bring to the court all those who suffered as a result of those actions, maybe this person is going to come up with more specific evidence or testimonies, because we have some proofs or evidence which actually prove his guilt. And that is why we definitely do hope, as the representatives of those who suffered as a result of their actions, the lawyers of those people who suffered themselves, or the members of their families, we are talking about the Heavenly 100. So if all those crimes are going to be objectively considered by the courts, and they will come up with the certain legal assessment that those who are guilty of those crimes will be punished accordingly. So maybe I repeat myself. We call upon all the public at large, all the journalists, all the people who are not indifferent, to come to the courtrooms to support members of the families of those who suffered or themselves, because your support is very important to me. Good afternoon, Lelichenko. I'm a lawyer and representative of the Heavenly 100, speaking about the case which is considered by the Shevchenkovsky District Court of the city of Kiev. I'm talking about the case of Mr. Schegolev. During the Maidan times, he was head of SBU in Kiev and Kiev region. He is accused or charged with the following. First of all, for the organization and carrying out the so-called anti-terrorist operation near the House of Trade Unions in the Maidan Square. According to the indictment, he is charged with the abuse of his authorities in office, which actually led to very heavy consequences and the death of more than 10 people, and more than 20 people were wounded as a result of those actions. Today, this indictment has been actually accusation were returned to the Shevchenkovsky court in order to elaborate in that case. We'll see how they're going to remove those shortcomings or imperfections in the case. We hope that this kind of indictment will reach the level when we will have normal evidence, and those evidence are going to be confirmed. As far as I know, that the General Prosecutor's Office came up with the appeal regarding this kind of return of this case to be further considered. We believe that we should not allow the suspension of this case, and the public at large has to, in some way, to exert pressure on the courts in order to ensure the objective and complete consideration of those cases by the court. So once again, I call all the public at large and journalists in order to actually to come to the courtrooms and support the let's say the prosecutor's side. And because this is a very serious case, we are talking about mass scale shooting of people at the Maidan. We should not sit on our hands. We have to bring this case to the logical end. We have to exert pressure on our officials for them to have enough political will for those cases to be considered as soon as possible and as efficient as possible, in all those people who are guilty of those crimes be brought to responsibility. Thank you very much. Questions? But please introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon, Olga Klimko. I represent people who are interested in these cases. So we believe that our society today do not understand the consequences that Ukraine will have if these cases are not ended in civilized manner as it is done in civilized countries. So I have a question in connection with all those circumstances. Do we have such an article, or this information is present in some internet resources, the view of advocacy group on all the cases that are now considered in the courts? Because people, they maybe do not have enough information, so people should have access, and they should understand where they can find information about these issues. And also many people, they do not know about the number of cases in courts, so the information is lacking. I mean, professional information. As of today, site is developed. Site of we have an internet page, and there we provide all the materials and we highlight topical issues. We are present on Facebook, so you may find information there. As to articles, topical issues are highlighted. Evgenia Zakrevska and Roman Maselka, they write about these issues, topical issues connected with courts or prosecutor's office, and also the advocates and lawyers, they work with general prosecutor's office, and we have the aim to come to logical conclusions, and we help general prosecutor's office in order to find formulation and qualification of this crime. We inform society in Facebook, on our page. All the information is there. If you need it, if you don't understand something, please, you can send an SMS to us and we will inform you about it. Next question, please. Lesa Galavatof's channel. I support the question of the previous speaker. And what is the number of cases that are considered in courts now? And can you sum up the main cooperation with prosecutor's office and about the courts? So general General Prosecutor's Office opened case number 228, and then they make qualification whether this person is detained or not. If the person is detained, they prepare indictment, and now in court there are 4 cases on 20th of February, and Berkut, Ambroski, Zinchenko, and others. Schegolev, Shevchenkivsky, Polilsky is Lukash, Shapovalov, and Desnyansky, Lukash. So we have this information as of today, and on the 30th of November case is Popov and Berkut, and also on Titushkas. So these are 6 cases at the moment. And one court, and also killing in Rome, so one more case. And these cases are in courts, and all other proceedings, they are in General Prosecutor's Office. The investigation continues, and we help, and General Prosecutor's Office also work effectively. So the problem is, the main problems are of qualification of the crime, and lack of evidence, and qualification of the cases that is provided by General Prosecutor's Office, and these problems are solved, and we continuously work with General Prosecutor's Office, and we provide evidence. We collect evidence from the witnesses, and we provide this information to General Prosecutor's Office, also video and photo materials. They are gathered and analyzed, and if we are speaking about General Prosecutor's Office, there's qualified specialists, and technical means are lacking in order to carry out tests or to identify these persons who are on video. So country is not ready technically to solve these issues. So foreign specialists should be included to identify persons on the video. Do you have some other questions or comments? If there are no, thank you, dear friends. Press conference is over. Till the next time, goodbye.
Шановні колеги, наступний
Dear colleagues, next press